If we're being completely honest about Georgie and Mandy's first marriage, the reason Georgie and Mandy's relationship struggles feel so intense isn't because they're dramatic. It's because they're realistic. The uncomfortable truth behind their marriage isn't betrayal, scandal, or some shocking twist. It's timing, maturity, and emotional misalignment. And that's harder to fix than any single mistake. To understand why their relationship struggles hit the way they do, you have to go back to where it started. This wasn't a slow-burn romance built on years of compatibility. It was accelerated by circumstance. We first saw the foundation laid in Young Sheldon, where Georgie's impulsiveness collided with adult responsibility almost overnight. An unexpected pregnancy forced two people at very different life stages into long-term commitment. That kind of beginning changes everything. When a relationship starts under pressure, you don't get the luxury of gradual emotional development. You skip steps. You move straight to survival mode. And survival mode can look like stability for a while. You bond over crisis. You step up because you have to. But once the initial chaos settles, the deeper questions surface. Who are we really? Are we growing together? Or just managing circumstances? That's the uncomfortable truth. Georgie and Mandy didn't fail because they didn't care. They struggled because they were still becoming themselves. Georgie's arc has always been about proving himself. In Young Sheldon, he was constantly compared to Sheldon's genius. He was underestimated. He internalized the idea that he had to hustle harder to be taken seriously. So when marriage and fatherhood entered the picture, Georgie leaned into responsibility like it was a badge of honor. He works. He provides. He tries to show he's a man. But here's the issue. Providing financially isn't the same as being emotionally mature. Mandy, on the other hand, entered the relationship with a different set of expectations. She's older. She has clearer ideas about stability, communication, and partnership. She doesn't just want effort. She wants alignment. She wants to feel understood, not just supported. And those are two very different things. That gap between effort and understanding is where the tension lives. The show does something really smart here. It doesn't villainize either of them. Georgie isn't careless. Mandy isn't ungrateful. They're both trying. But trying doesn't automatically equal compatibility. That's what makes it uncomfortable. There's no obvious bad guy. There's just misalignment. Another layer that makes their struggles hit harder is what we already know from the Big Bang Theory. Adult Georgie casually mentions multiple ex-wives. That line used to be a throwaway joke. Now it carries weight. Watching his first marriage strain under real-world pressures makes that future feel less like a punchline and more like a consequence. And that's where the emotional sting comes in. The show subtly suggests that love isn't always enough. Georgie loves Mandy. Mandy loves Georgie. But love doesn't erase differences in timing. Georgie is still figuring out who he is as an adult. Mandy already knows what she needs. When two people are growing at different speeds, friction is inevitable. There's also pride involved. Georgie's identity is wrapped up in being the provider. When he feels criticized, even gently, it hits deeper than he lets on. Mandy's frustration isn't about money alone. It's about emotional partnership. But Georgie sometimes hears it as failure. That miscommunication snowballs. And then there's the reality of early marriage. They didn't date for years. They didn't test compatibility through time. They were pushed into commitment quickly. That kind of start requires both people to evolve fast. And evolution under pressure isn't smooth. What makes their relationship struggles resonate so deeply is that they're quiet. There aren't explosive betrayals. There aren't outrageous sitcom misunderstandings. It's subtle distance. It's conversations that don't quite connect. It's feeling alone even when the other person is right there. That's painfully relatable. The uncomfortable truth is that Georgie and Mandy might have been right for each other in a specific moment, but not necessarily for a lifetime. And that idea challenges the romantic ideal sitcoms often promote. We're used to seeing couples overcome obstacles with grand gestures or perfectly timed apologies. This show suggests something harder. Sometimes the obstacle is who you are at that stage of life. And growth isn't always synchronized. Georgie is becoming responsible. Mandy needs him to become emotionally present. Those aren't mutually exclusive goals, but they require awareness. And awareness takes time. Sometimes more time than a young marriage can afford. That's why their struggles linger with audiences. It feels honest. It feels unpolished. It feels like watching two good people slowly realize that good intentions don't guarantee long-term harmony. In the end, the uncomfortable truth behind Georgie and Mandy's relationship struggles isn't dramatic at all. It's human. They loved each other. They tried. But they entered adulthood together before fully understanding themselves individually. And sometimes, that's the hardest lesson of all.